and it is time for our word on the street. Nash, what's going down with the word on the street?
Well, word on the street is that Chet Hanks, who is Tom Hanks' son, he's saying that he's going to have a white boy summer. He's going to be rapping. He said, tag a real vanilla king, hashtag respectfully. I have no words. That's all I will say.
I don't even know what to say about that. Why not a light-skinned summer?
I don't know. He said he's not talking about like Trump, NASCAR type white. He's talking about John B., Jack Harlow type of white boy summer. And I'm like, for you to compare yourself to like Jack Harlow, no, please don't.
I didn't even know Tom Hanks had a son that was a rapper.
Yeah, he was the one who like first announced that that Tom had COVID. It was his whole thing like back in 2020. But he's very interesting to say the least.
Seems like he's going for a lot of shock value.
Yeah, I think so. But in better news, the other day on SNL, Kid Cudi performed in a dress in honor of Nirvana's Kurt Cobain. And need I say more?
Now, what's going down with that? Is that a shock value thing? Because a lot of people are talking about it.
I know Soulja Boy was like, oh my God, what's going on here? But so when he was performing his live rendition of Tequila Shots off of his new album, he stepped out into a spaghetti strap floral dress and this kind of chunky skeleton necklace, just like Kurt Cobain did in 1993 for this cover of the magazine. So it was in homage for him. And I think it's really cool seeing all these straight cis men tackle internalized homophobia within the rap community, because a little while ago as well, Young Thug wore a dress for his album reveal. So I think it's really cool because, gender, clothing has no gender. So I think it's really cool to see all these artists expressing themselves in a cool way.
Nash, what's going down?
Well, I wanted to drop some news for you guys, but basically in Montreal, there's rioters and rioting that's happening. People are setting fires, smashing windows because they want to protest the curfew that's happening in Montreal. And it's kind of crazy because it also reminded me of some other stuff that's happening across the country, actually. But in Edmonton, a church by the name of Grace Life Church, they haven't been adhering to any COVID-19 rules. So they weren't wearing masks, no social distancing. I'm talking about like hundreds of people, like crowds. Right. So they closed down the church, but people have been protesting. And it's kind of interesting because it's like, is this not counterproductive? What's happening?
Yeah, and protests are a good thing sometimes.
Yes.
Protests are a good thing, I don't like when I heard maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I've heard so far, that in Montreal with the protests that just went down, a lot of local businesses were damaged, right? And so things like that I'm not with. But I understand the protesting and people being upset, and I think protest is needed right now, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
No.
8 o'clock curfew is too much.
Of course, I think that there are things that there needs to be protests for things, but I think that all of this spent energy on protests about curfew on COVID could go to so much better things about protesting on climate change or protesting for Black Lives Matter, etc. I think that people need to figure out where to put all their energy into.
Yeah, for sure. But let's just talk about it. DMX passing away, man.
I know. We never, I know that everyone listening on the previous shows, everyone got to talk about me and Dynamic. We haven't been able to talk about it. So how are you feeling, Dynamic?
The other day, of course, when we all found out the news, I didn't want to be one of those people that just jumped on and did one of those posts that everybody's doing right now and, acting like they've been big DMX fans when they really haven't. They're just doing it, for the likes or whatever, because, a lot of that's happening right now.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But I definitely, am a fan of DMX, and he's literally the first his Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood is the first hip hop album I ever bought. You know what I mean? So
crazy.
For me, that's what got me. That's why I'm sitting here on the radio. You know what I mean? I fell in love. I fell in love with hip hop. I fell in love with it all. Right? So, yo, man, it's a sad day. Still a sad day even right now, even though it's after it's happened. But I think it's a big loss for hip hop. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, like you said, I wasn't I didn't grow up a big fan. I'm also very young, your favorite Gen Z radio host. But I think that he had such a big impact that you can truly feel it regardless of how much of his music that you did know, etc. But coming up, we have a song from DMX. The song is called Let Me Fly, here on The Morning Shift, CHUO 89.1 FM.